It's just like anything in life. If you are just going without reflecting on what you're doing, you'll be limited in your ability to, achieve success. You want to have that polarity, because if you're stuck in the middle, you're always stressed out, you can't sleep. I am committed to excellence, whether I'm training or as a human being, but I'm not attached to the outcomes.
Hamad, nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, welcome to a new podcast / interview, this time with Hamad Shirazi, my good friend. And we're going to talk a little bit about the holistic approach. Hamad is an expert in this field. I learned very much from him. And Hamad, can you just tell us a little bit about your story to begin?
Student / expert. So still always
Exactly.
learning and growing. How I got into this,
Right.
Growing up, I actually grew up like pretty close by, Dunwoody, Georgia. I had 2 older brothers, watched them play sports, so naturally gravitated towards athletics. And I grew up in the mindset of no pain, no gain, bigger, faster, stronger, more is better, without an understanding of recovery, nutrition, hydration, rest, sleep, and the importance that holds on your ability to express yourself athletically. And Rami and I, we just trained a little bit, and we're having conversation and going through some of the elements that I learned over time. I got into weight training more vigorously about 15 years old, and I was doing like a traditional bigger, faster, stronger split in high school, but then I also had a personal trainer at the gym. I was playing basketball, play tennis, play golf. It was just, I want to be active.
Yeah, same as so many other people. You always want to be on the go, always work out a lot, but what's the problem with that, working out a lot and everything?
It's just like anything in life. If you are just going without reflecting on what you're doing, you'll be limited in your ability to achieve success. So it's integrating more philosophy, understanding, mindfulness. It's like, if you don't have a coach and you don't have a game plan, and like if you're playing soccer, if you don't have a game plan on the strategy of the cohesiveness of the team and how we're going to play the match, if we just go out there and run, maybe sometimes you might have success with that, but I think you'll be better prepared with a plan.
Oh yeah, 100%. And as you mentioned, we just came from a workout. We just worked out for 1.5 hours, and you showed me so many movements that were completely new for me. So how did you, from a basketball player, classic high school strength and conditioning, how did you turn into a person who got into all these holistic movements that got the body twists and all of that into it? Where did you learn that?
Great question. So I had that kind of traditional background. By the time I was 18 years old, I started to develop chronic pain. And I was like, my shot, when I was younger and before I lifted weights, things were natural to me. Playing tennis, golf, basketball, throwing the football, I didn't have any pain. I was just having fun expressing myself. Once I started lifting weights and following trainers and people, and just, it's almost like I was going against my innate expression that I was born with. We all have talents and gifts, and sometimes when we're following others or modeling something else, it doesn't work. So being in chronic pain, I was like, I couldn't play basketball pain-free. My strength training, I was like starting to be capped at strength, and it was a fork in the road for me. It was like, do I just stop? Because I would see medical doctors or personal trainers, physical therapists, even chiropractors and everyone, and they were like, not really providing solution or hope. They were just like, okay, this is what it is. Maybe don't play as much. And I'm like,
that doesn't work.
Yeah, that doesn't work. If I'm not doing what I love and I'm not able to express myself, then like, what's the point? So that instilled passion in me to go down this route more as a student and a professional, because I was like, there was an internal feeling inside of me. I was like, this can't be it. This can't just, I'm not just going to be in pain the rest of my life and have to just accept that that's my path. And so that instilled like that passion and fire for me. I was naturally a truth seeker, but then I was like, all right, I'm gonna go down and figure it out.
That's amazing. So you're a personal certified personal trainer right now. Now you're studying also in the chiropractic program to be a chiropractor, which is amazing. And I'm kind of at the point what you mentioned where you start to figure out for yourself there's more to it. Like you shouldn't have all these limitations. I'm far away from the knowledge that you have, but that's why I love to have these conversations with you, because I can learn so much from you. And one thing that we just did a lot is the rotation movement when we worked out. So what's that all about?
Well, so our body, it's a holistic system of systems. And if we are playing sports or training, the brain doesn't just say bicep curl. The brain sends signals through our neurology to perform a movement. And that movement will be integrated with the musculoskeletal system. And nowadays, fascia has been something that's been coming up more so in the fitness industry, and people are becoming more aware of it. We want all our movements to be within integrity of our body and integrating the myofascial systems. So we want congruence between the mind and muscle activation. And why we were doing a lot of rotation and spiraling is most movements, and if you watch any animal move, watch an example I share with my friends and clients a lot is just if you have like a child or any kids, just watch how they move. They breathe deeply into their belly. They move naturally, and they're spiraling. They're not just like robots. So it's like if we squat and doing everything just pressing. Most of us have an innate expression, and we come from nature. So our training, ideally, it's like we utilize science, we utilize strength and conditioning principles, but we don't forget like who we are and where we came from, it's and kind of our humanity.
Remembering yourself where you come from, right?
Exactly.
Because that's what since I got a little bit more into the holistic approach in terms of the mind, the body, and the soul together, and instead of isolating each, and it comes with the food that you eat, even the water that you drink. I remember when we went to your house and we drank that so clear water. You could taste the difference, you could feel the difference. And the food that you eat, the body movements that you do. Stillness is a big point that I learned from you. That was probably the point that stood out the most from the conversation that we had at your house with stillness. Like trying to be the calmest person in the room. Yes. And that makes such a big difference. Can you tell me a little bit again, why is it so important to seek that stillness, especially if you're an athlete who works out, trains like multiple times a day?
If you notice, there's a yin and yang with everything, right? So the sun, it comes up and it goes down, and the moon, and everything is rotation. And if you want optimal, maximal performance, you want to be able to, let's just use like a lion, for example. Sleep all day, but if necessary, it can explode and attack. Most even animals, you want to have that polarity, because if you're stuck in the middle, you're always stressed out, you can't sleep, you're getting injuries, you're not training at the opposite ends. And if we use studying chiropractic, but coming to the nervous system, you have a parasympathetic, which is rest and digest, and you have fight or flight. Most of us nowadays, we're stuck in the middle. We can't rest and meditate. We can't turn the mind off. So we're not optimal resters. And then we're also not able to perform like a max lift or a max sprint.
Because we're always like...
We're in between. And they feed into each other. So our greater... the better we're able to rest, the more we're going to be able to express ourselves. It's like a yin and a yang. And that's why... And, going back to something that you said earlier, is there's like these buzzwords and trends all the time. Everyone understands that energy is everything and everywhere, but it's almost like there's this quote is the way you do anything is the way you do everything. Yeah,
we say that even in soccer, the way you train is how you play.
Yes, and bringing back to the hydration, nutrition, so it's like you want congruence. You want to make optimal choices all the time, as best as you can, but no one's perfect. But sometimes there's a disconnect, right? It's like we want to be great and focused in some areas, but then we're not going to pay attention to how we eat, how we sleep, how we walk, how we talk, are we kind to people? Like, so it's everything comes together.
Yeah, talking about nutrition, just yesterday I noticed what big of a difference it is what you eat, because for a couple of months now, even starting before Ramadan, I was trying to eat very healthy food as much as I can. I mean, I live in the dorms, so I'm a little bit dependent on the meal plan, but as much as I can eat healthy food. Yesterday, when I went on a hike, we came back kind of late. We stopped at Taco Bells. I was like, all right, I'm going to eat some Taco Bells now. I felt so bad afterwards. I felt so tired. Like, I went to train afterwards. My stomach felt heavy. I felt like lethargic.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, wow, it makes such a big difference what you eat. And especially if you haven't eaten that bad in a while and you eat it once, that's when you realize, now I know why I try to eat good.
Yeah.
It was like a reminder, but it stands out so much.
Yeah. Nutrition is everything that we listen to, what we eat, what we drink, who we surround ourselves with. And what you said is very true. But I also want to give another side of it too, is like the mentality. And there is a mental, emotional, energetic component too. Like, if we eat something and we feel guilty or feel guilty afterwards, it may affect our body's ability to absorb it. Because then we're, like, let's say if we eat something, then we feel shame. Versus it's like, I ate that Taco Bell and, whatever. Like, I'm going to go train, I'm going to burn it off. Now, we don't want to always do that, but I also want to just drop into that because I have been a perfectionist. And we want to be careful with that. So, because then if we become too rigid and dogmatic about anything, then we have I would say a sickness in here.
Okay.
So I aim for, I mean, I haven't eaten Taco Bell or things like that for a while, but I do want, we want to choose better choices out of love and not like just avoid things or operate from fear. It's like we don't want to be scared of foods.
Yeah, see, that's at the point where I'm a little bit, so once I get an idea in my mind gets so stuck on it, like, let's say the idea is not to eat fast food, then my mind is so stuck on not to eat fast food. But I 100% agree with you. Like, you shouldn't be too strict in your mind and be like, this is the way we go, because then we become robots. And we should be more like, okay, I'm making the decisions, but you eat Taco Bells once in lifetime and once in a year.
Yeah,
it's like, all right, just it's not too bad. You're not gonna drop your performance right away from that.
Yeah, but like you said, it's a great lesson. We want to choose optimal. So for me, I grew up eating all junk food, fast foods. I was a junk man. I love food. I don't even think about it anymore. So even like shifting the mindset from not eating something versus eating well, if that makes sense. Even when I consult with clients and people will come up to me and thinking that I'm going to place all these rigid limitations and tell them you can't do this, you can't do that. But that's not how I operate. Let's add positive habits, positive elements. Let's, whatever someone's challenges, let's hydrate better. Let's eat more vegetables rather than cut this out, cut that out. I'm more in the belief system that when we add more positive elements into your life, you'll feel better, which will inspire you to make better choices, as opposed to it's like, I can't do this, and it's just a lower vibration than choosing more optimal.
I think that also goes a little bit back to treating the cause instead of the symptom.
Yeah.
Because it's the same on the body. If your ankle hurts, it might not come from the ankle. It might come from a completely different part from the body, which you don't even think about. So treating the ankle can help in the short term, but to fix the problem in the long term, you have to look at the whole body.
Yes, the whole system.
And it's kind of the same thing with that. Instead of just cutting out something, what is the mindset behind it? What is the thought process behind it? Yeah. And if you change that, or if you improve that, that's when you can see improvements in the whole outcome. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
And like the ankle example is, an ankle, we could treat the foot, the ankle, the knee, the hip. It could be, we were talking about earlier, diaphragm.
Right.
It could be an imbalance in your pelvic floor musculature. It could be an atlas, So it's all about digging deeper, root cause, looking at the body as an entire system. It works better holistically rather than in individual parts.
Yeah, that part is so fascinating for me. I'm glad that
Me too.
That I just got into it a little bit. I don't have the knowledge at all. If someone has an ankle problem, I can't identify if it comes from the knee. But having the knowledge to even think about the whole body, that's such a difference for me. I love it.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned the lion. What I see often on internet and everywhere, lion or gazelle. So the lion symbolizes that powerful guy in terms of weightlifting. He's the one who's squatting a lot, who's bench pressing a lot. And then you have the gazelle, who's like very smooth and quick and more facial. What's your thought process on that?
It's funny. I think that you can be both. When you say lion and gazelle, my mind goes to predator and prey. So I always want to be a predator, but it's also like who. It depends on the outcome. You know, I think this goes into understanding like one of those deeper questions of life, but it translates to athletics too. Is who are we and who do we want to be? Are we trying to be like someone else, or like why are we playing this sport? And let's say if someone likes some of the moves you do and they start changing their game up, like you can take other people's expression as inspiration. So it's kind of getting clear on yourself of like, where are you best? So when I was younger, I would say that's probably contributed to a lot of my injuries. I have a mixed Middle Eastern background, and I have a certain bone structure, and there's elements that we're born with, and then there's epigenetics of what we can do. I wanted to be big, look good, all those elements, but I think naturally and over time I've learned that there's different elements that would be more suitable for my body, and that's why we take more of a holistic approach to training, because it's not outward in, it's inside out. Like what's your skill set? Where are you naturally gifted? How do we work on the weaknesses but also enhance your expression? So like say if you and I were playing basketball or soccer or anything, like there would be certain elements and mechanics you have versus me. We don't want to model each other. We want to be more optimally functioning humans so that we can express ourselves. We don't want to be robots.
100%. And then while doing that, find these imbalances in your body. Treat them. That's amazing. That's what we did today with a rotational movement, and you could see like the imbalances on one side, different parts of the body, and then treating those areas to get that optimal performance. Because that's what I kind of came to the conclusion with, that it's all about an optimal performance as a whole human. And I was reflecting a little bit recently on what is greatness, and I came to the conclusion it's regularly, constantly performing at your optimal potential, no matter the circumstances. And that's why it's so great to have that knowledge about treating the whole body and everything. One question for you, on your whole journey on and towards that holistic approach, what has been the most influential lesson for you?
That's a good one. I'm not in control of the outcome. And as athletes and all humans, right? But even young men, boys, like we have this element of arrogance, and we feel like we're invincible. So we keep pushing, and we don't surrender or trust. And I have been humbled many times to where I've learned that, I am committed to excellence and bringing myself to be the best I can be, whether I'm training or as a human being, but I'm not attached to the outcomes.
That's amazing.
So that just learning to surrender, like truly. So it's like putting in the work, but let's say we put in all the work. What if that path is not meant for us? And I didn't have the experience with basketball. Was my favorite sport. As a kid, I wanted to play professionally. I was stuck in that mindset, victim mentality for some time. What if that wasn't what was best for me? And now who I am and who I'm becoming is going to be able to have a far greater impact in the world. So it's also being okay with that, and say you prepare so much for a match or a game and it doesn't go the way you plan. If you gave it your best, let it go.
Yeah, it's such a valuable lesson for me as well. And I think the first time when we met, you mentioned that lesson already. I can see that in so many different ways. The first time I kind of heard about this was reading the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F Word.
Yeah, I know.
He was mentioning, instead of, let's say, professional soccer player, instead of having the goal, my goal is to be a professional soccer player, my goal is to give everything in my power to become a professional soccer player, but don't be attached to the outcome.
Yes.
Like, you are attached to what you can control.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of difference, because then you see things different. Why it's not, you change yourself from a perspective of, why did this happen to me, towards how can I benefit from that? How can I learn from that? That switch in the mind is so powerful. I'm still working on that as well. And it has a lot to do with faith as well, because you have to have that faith. And for us both, it's like in a higher power in God, that there is that faith that something is meant for you and something isn't meant for you, but you're in control. And then Maktub. Are you familiar with the word Maktub?
Maktub. It was written.
Right.
And the thing is that's a beautiful reflection, and I appreciate you sharing that. And we've talked about this before, as far as who are we becoming in the process.
Right.
And as cliche as it sounds, it is about the journey, because our mind may be, okay, the workout and what are we doing after this? But the only thing that's real in life is the moment.
Yeah.
And then it's, who are we becoming? Are we becoming narcissistic to where we're hurting people in order to reach our goals, or can we be someone who's gracious, who has a positive impact around everyone, and then we may be blessed with a life so much better than we can imagine.
Yeah, 100%. I was sitting with my professor the other day. He wrote a book. It's called The Road to Renovation by Dr. Michael Amos. Check it out. And he was telling me, like, the most important thing is, one of the most important things is, at your core you should have you need to have that faith, that belief in your creator, which we call Allah, other people call God, which is the same thing. And you have to have that faith, because that gives that, as you said, surrender for the outcome.
There's a metaphysical, there's a spiritual realm. Science and our mind can only understand so much. So we want to be able to give space for that, because it's one of the most dangerous things is for our ego and our mind to think that we know everything. And you were saying earlier about, you want to know. I've accumulated a lot of knowledge, but one thing is, the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. So usually it's like, as you get to higher and higher levels of intelligence, you just speak and see things differently. You're like, okay, I can see all these dots, but there's always an element of surprise. There's always an element that nothing is stagnant in the earth and the universe.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
But Hamad, I think we cut it right here. A lot of wisdom, as always. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's the journey we are on. That's the journey I'm going on. I'm entering, having high goals. Don't be attached too much to the outcome, but to what you can control. Big lesson right here.
I hope there was some value in that.
Definitely. There was a lot of value for me. I hope for everyone watching as well. Hope you could learn from it. Check out his Instagram. I'm going to link it down below. He's sharing a lot of very helpful tips and lessons from your life. So check that out, guys. Hamad, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, brother.
Anytime. All right, guys.
All right, peace.